Not heard yet, and I'm sure this is why most of you guys are here. It was announced earlier this year that the chief of LAPD, Chief Beck, will be stepping down. What is it, May, June? June. And so, as part of that, we've got some good contenders in there. We've elected to throw our support behind one of those candidates, and so. I'm glad he came to see us and to speak to us. So I'm going to ask Jose. You can come up. You can stand right now.
So my name's Jose Marquez, and I've lived in Montecito Heights for about 18 years. My son Fernando's in the back. He plays high school, Lincoln High School. In fact, he had a baseball game today. My little boy goes to Boys and Girls Club. I volunteer in the area. I'm not part of a campaign. I'm not part of a committee. I'm not being paid for anything. But Deputy Chief Arcos is one of the candidates for police chief of Los Angeles. And as a citizen of the community, and I've been in LA or lived in the San Fernando Valley pretty much all my life. It's probably the most important position in LA County, in LA. That assignment, that position that the mayor is going to ultimately select. So I did a little homework on all the candidates that I've seen that have been public acknowledged already. And I read Deputy Chief Arcos, I read his resume, I read his bio, I read his posting, and I wanted to just read one piece of there's a lot of data there, but his bio's here. But I'm sure he would share his resume as well. But there's something in his posting that he actually supplied that I thought, to me, I'm in corporate America, and I've been in corporate America for quite a long time. I lead commercial lending for a bank. And when I read this, what I thought about was leadership. When I read this one little sentence, I thought about a leader leading other men and women, and in turn, they leading other men and women. And it really resonated with me. So I'm sure there are going to be great candidates, but this is the candidate for us. It's time. And not only that, he would be the first Latina chief of police in Los Angeles history. That is shocking, because everyone talks about having folks that mirror our community, and we don't do that. So that in itself is it's kind of mind-blowing, but be that as it may, this is the sentence of all the things that I read that really jumped out at me. These are his words. I didn't write that. These are his words. I have been able to effectively provide professional judgment, opinion, and recommendations persuasively and assertively. But I am also able to engage in true dialogue and understand there are times when many others may provide a more strategic recommendation or facts that may necessitate a changing course or mind. So that tells me that that's a person that is willing to listen and take a step back and say, you know what, that's a better way of doing that. When I think about that, and when I'm having corporate meetings and someone at a junior level might tell me something, I listen to it. And if it works, I go with it. And so when I hear that about a man at his position, at his level, as a deputy chief now, with that kind of a disposition, I just love that. So I'm going to let Deputy Chief introduce his background and everything else, and he's open for Q&A. And I just want to do a small introduction for him. Thank you. And he's got my complete support. Thank you. Thank you.
Chief, welcome to MHI.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, and thank you for that, Jose. I didn't know he was going to do that, and I didn't know he was going to read that portion, but thank you so much for doing that.
We mean to embarrass you.
Yeah, I'll take it. So it's really nice to be here, and thank you all for coming out. It's a beautiful evening. It's a little chilly, and as I was pulling up, I saw just how busy the park was, and to see all the kids coming out to play ball with their families, and I was reminded. I went to Marshall High School. I know Jose's son's from Lincoln High School, but I used to play Marshall baseball, and we used to play Belmont at Montecito Park here. I grew up in Atwater. You guys know Fletcher and Larga. So I'm a local boy. I was born in San Antonio, Texas, but my mom moved us to Los Angeles when I was 9 years old. So I call Los Angeles my home, and I call the Los Angeles Police Department an honor to be part of this profession. So before I just talk a little bit about myself and my career, I just really want to take another opportunity to thank all of you from the communities that are out here, whether you're part of the association or the councils, or you're part of a nonprofit and the Boys and Girls Club. Really watching everything in action just reminds me of just how beautiful it is to live in this city, and the activism about building better communities. And that's what you're all doing here tonight, building a better community, being a voice and being engaged in your community, and that's how it happens. So really, from the police department aspect of this, it's easier for us to work with communities that are engaged than those that are just not working together and divisive. So on behalf of my department, thank you very much for doing that. It's really great to watch everybody working tonight. And happy birthday. I'm embarrassed to back here. So also, I'll just take a quick minute to introduce Lieutenant Ryan Whiteman, who's back there. He's the officer in charge of the gang impact team from Hollenbeck area. He's doing amazing things. So Ryan is a tremendous leader also running the gang unit in Hollenbeck. He's taking a different twist with his approach to gang enforcement in the community. He has a really great background in community policing. He's bringing a bridge between policing to gang enforcement, which is, it's a paradigm shift for the police department. And he's got a really nice touch on how he's doing it. And I just want to embarrass you with it also, Ryan. Thank you. So this is my 30th year in the LAPD. I started in 1988 to Los Angeles Police Academy, and it was really the highlight of my career. I had served in the U.S. Army for 4 years, and once I got out of the Army, the LAPD was hiring, and they were hiring pretty aggressively. The classes were about 90 to 100 officers at a time. Today, we're only about 30 to 40, sometimes 50 officers, so we were accelerated during that time. So I went to the police academy, and I got through and started serving my time in the streets of Los Angeles. I worked in Rampart Division, I've worked in Northeast, I've been in Van Nuys Division, and I've been in everywhere around Operation Central Bureau. And today, as the Deputy Chief of Operation Central Bureau, I have 5 commands that I service. Okay? Central Division, Rampart, Hollenbeck, Northeast, and Newton, and Central Traffic Division. Those 5 commands and the Traffic Division are under my command. I have 1,700 employees, 65 square miles, and we service about 900 to 1 million residents in the city of Los Angeles. It really is an honor to serve in Central Bureau. We're one of the smaller geographic bureaus of the city, but we are the most diverse and the most dynamic. Everything that's happening in the world comes into downtown Los Angeles. No matter what the position is, it comes to downtown Los Angeles. And I truly have the honor to work with all the different groups, no matter what their position, no matter what their politics, no matter what their issues. For us, it's about facilitation. Facilitation and expression of First Amendment rights, and that's what we really do. We're working on May Day. It's coming up a couple of weeks away, and we'll again do our best to help facilitate everyone's voice, even the pro-Trump group that comes out. We kind of give them their little spot, about all 10 of them, they get out there. But all 10 of them bring a bullhorn, so they sound like they got a lot more people than they have. But it's usually about 10 to 15, and so far so good on all that. And it's again just about giving everybody that free speech that they deserve as a constitutional protection. So I really kind of went really fast because I know we're a little bit late on time, and I didn't want to take away from the business of the community here. So that's just really kind of my story in a nutshell. And if you have any questions for me here about your community as well. But one thing I want to say also too is this, is that, and Ryan can attest to this, is that in the department, as we've moved up in the organization, we fill out an application, and then we go before an oral board, and you either get the spot or you don't. This application process with the Chief of Police in the city of Los Angeles has been something that is number one, a tremendous opportunity and an honor just to be part of. So people that reach out to me and call me and contact me and want to know different issues, we call it a campaign on an election. It's not a campaign, and it's not an election. It's a process. It's a process, and it's something that I'm proud to be part of because I'm a member of this police department, and I feel that I can still make a tremendous difference if I were chosen to be the chief of police. So that was kind of like my little disclaimer about election and campaigns. Certainly separate. Yes, sir.
2 questions, but one's very easy. First one is, how unusual is it for the mayor to select someone to become, the the chief from within the ranks of the LAPD?
How unusual is it? Well, it's in my 30-year history, I've seen it happen twice. First, it was with Willie Williams, and then it was with Bill Bratton. And so it's not, everything is about timing. It's about timing, it's about fit. Right now, the department, I believe we're in a really great place. I think Chief Beck has done a lot of great things for the department, and there's certainly more things that we can do. But the department, in my position here, I don't see us in crisis at all as an organization. We have lots of work to do. We still have lots of work to do with our communities about building trust, building police legitimacy in our communities. But it's not, I don't see him going outside on this one. I think that we have really great candidates internally that are in the process, but it really is up to the mayor. It's his decision when he decides on who he's going to select as his next chief of police.
And the real easy one is, I graduated from John Marshall too. I'm curious, what year did you graduate?
1979. So you know what a barrister, is, right? That's what happens all the time. People go, what's a barrister? You have to go to Marshall. It's a lawyer. Right? So, but I was there at the time. I never was in one of the buildings because the Silmar earthquake had knocked down the beautiful building and had to do a lot of renovation and retrofitting. So for the entire 3 years I was at Marshall, I was in the bungalows for 3 years. So
I'm sorry.
it's a beautiful building, though. It's a beautiful building. Lots of it. Yes, sir.
One of the issues I look at here with Beck retiring is the fact that my thoughts were that in the past, the hiring the chief used to be a civil service process going back to Gates. And now it seems, after this whole process is over and you were to get selected, it seems like the politics has kind of got invasive. Just my point of view, it's kind of like the politics has got invasive with headquarters. And when it comes to the rank and file out on the streets, especially with some of the initiatives passed in California with Prop 47, 57, AB 109, what would be your initiative to streamline to make sure that downtown is organized and also that the resources are being put out onto the streets? I know this community, Hollenbeck right now, is hot, okay? Murders are up, shootings. I grew up in Ramona Gardens, and we've seen that firsthand the last couple of years. What is your priority going to be in helping to make sure the resources are getting to the right places, which should be out on the street with the rank and file?
And thank you for that question. That's actually a really great question, and it kind of leads me right into kind of the vision that I see for myself if I were to be the chief of police. First is to continue the reforms from the consent decree that we're still continuing to evolve as a police department, to really work hard on trust and legitimacy. We have a long way to go. If you could indulge me for a moment, just this incident that's happening in Philadelphia, right, at a Starbucks. To have an incident like that, and then of all places, it's happening at a Starbucks. Really, what a giant step backwards for us as a nation, but also then for us to look, as a police department at just really how close are our relationships with our communities. So police legitimacy and building trust are going to be very, very important. Expansion of our community policing models throughout the community. We've done a great job with the community safety partnerships in Ramona Gardens and Pueblo del Rio and Nickerson Gardens and Imperial Courts. That is a proven model. That's something that Chief Beck has been his baby. That is the best way to have better relationships with our community, door to door, from the front porch to the backyards to the neighborhoods. People know the cops' names. Ryan was part of that. I guess to my last portion of that is effective use of resources. The number one issue that people talk to me about every single day is, I never see a cop in my neighborhood. I never see a black and white. Why does it take 3 or 4 months for a police detective to call me after I've had a crime, after I've been the victim of a burglary or someone broke into my car? The police, the number one service delivery model is the black and white. The black and white with police officers in the car going out and handling the call. And then that follow-up that goes to the detectives. We have become really over-specialized in many areas throughout the division for some good reasons and for some good things, but essentially we have to look back at what's important to our communities. You deserve better. You deserve better service, and the way to give you better service is to put those people back into the important priorities. Get them in the black and whites, get them out to handle calls, have the detectives there to pick up the phone and call you. I had a police officer tell me the other day, he's a police officer too, we call him, he's still kind of in his formative years of being a police officer. He got a loan up to the detectives so he can learn how to become a detective so he can take the test one day. So I was asking him how it was going. He said, Chief, thank you so much for the opportunity, but they're taking me back. I have to go back to patrol. And he said, I'm really sorry that happened. I wish we could have kept you up there longer. You can learn a little bit more. But I know that we need police officers in black and white to go out and handle calls. He goes, but Chief, I'm not upset. I want to go back. I want to go back and get back in that car and go out and handle calls and help the community. Because here, all I've been doing is picking up the phone and calling somebody that was a victim of a crime 5 months ago. He goes, I'm embarrassed. We got to do better, Chief. So that was really the affirmation that I needed, that, I'm hearing it from my own police officers that are saying that as well. I hear from the community all the time. We just got to dig deep and look better and reallocate, realign, re-engineer, and reshift our resources till we get back into our community, to get back into our neighborhoods and give you what you deserve. So, thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was involved with the Public Safety Committee at the Neighborhood Council and Neighborhood 32. But I go back to the time that I was doing counseling or consultant work for PNC program and doing some of that stuff. And one of the things that really gets to me, Chief, is politics. And I know that they say that policemen are not supposed to be political, but I find it over the years that they get very political. In other words, the guys on top give you the orders, and after a while, you're not listening to the community. And so that would be one thing that would concern me, is how do you separate the politics from the public safety issue of protecting the community? But let me give you another example. Being on the neighborhood council, and we have somebody that works for the police department, there was a domestic violence situation, and we had like 10 police cars come. My neighbor and I found a dead man, and we couldn't get somebody to come and see him. Okay? So that really concerned me. I mean, the priorities of somebody who works for the police department gets 10 cops because the neighbor is having a domestic violence issue. But during that same issue, suddenly one of the officers, I kind of said to him, one of the sergeants said, hey, they're keying your car. Look at that, they're keying your car, right? Because they had keyed it. And he says, tell your people not to key our cars. So I turned around and I said, well, wait a minute, who are my people? I said, I'm on the neighborhood council, and that's the president of the neighborhood council. Is that the people that I should tell not to key your car? Everything changed. And I was like, what? When he thought I was just a dirty old Mexican, gardener or whatever, he treated me bad. But when he found out that I actually represented the community, oh, sir, please, here's my card and all this stuff. I hope those things change. Thank you.
You got about 4 or 5 questions. Yes. Try and get some of these answers back to you, but first and foremost, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had to experience that type of service, that type of delay from the Los Angeles Police Department. The premier law enforcement agency in the world, and your story is not uncommon. That's what breaks my heart, and that's really what drives and motivates me for this position. So I can try and make a difference. I can get to my police officers like the one I just told you about and tell the stories that matter about helping someone in those times. And as far as the politics are concerned, certainly we have to stay apolitical and in uniform, and we can't give our opinions. Those things happen, I think, a lot less infrequently in our careers. We've gone through some really tough political corruption days as an organization. It's kind of rooted it out. But there's so many different agendas that are going on, and even just in this room and hearing everything that's happening, that's just in one room here. You think about a city that's 498 square miles with over 4 million people. There's competing interests, there's different agendas that are always going on, and the officers that are caught up in the middle of this, they do it because police officers want to be problem solvers. We're trained from square one is fix the problem. You get a call, fix the problem. And it's sometimes way beyond the capacity and the scope and the knowledge, skills, and abilities that we have to do. But officers truly want to do those things. So sometimes a lot of times we get ourselves in trouble like that. And you've seen that on the issues with homelessness. Is that we're just too much enforcement, just trying to take care of too many problems, taking away people's essentials, throwing their stuff away. So now we have 1, 2, 3 lawsuits hanging over the city of Los Angeles because for the most part, really, we're trying to be problem solvers. Instead, we got in a lot of trouble. So now, we understand, we're taking a step back. We can't be the face of homelessness. Enforcement is not the way out of homelessness, and it's a shared responsibility. Collaboratively, we have to work with all the different coalitions that are out there. And in my career, my 30 years, and Ryan, I know, and your career as well, this is the first time I've seen the momentum starting to shift and starting to change, that everybody's starting to be accountable. So I am hoping that this is going to be the change that's going to happen in the next few years, that we'll see a much better reduction, and as the mayor wants to have it, as an end to homelessness. So did I forget anything else in there? Okay, thank you. Thanks for taking that on too. You know what, you also talked about something very important, implicit and explicit bias. And the department is really in an aggressive and assertive way going through implicit and explicit bias training. So, and it's something that we're going to continue to do. Yes, sir.
What is it's an honor to have a hearing talking. And what is your position on Black Lives Matter? Do you foresee any new training for the police force in that area?
So as far as a position on Black Lives Matter, I mean, they are a very active group, and I think they've gotten a lot of momentum, not just in the Southern California chapter, but across the nation. And they bring up important issues. So this position of Black Lives Matter and Stop the Spying Coalition, there's a number of different groups, Youth Justice Coalition, that come to Police Commission on Tuesdays. And it's another voice, right? It's another voice, and we can't be deaf to it. We have to listen. Again, it's okay to have differences of opinion and to have, your position and your philosophy on how you see social injustices and criminal justice reforms and how they should come along. And I think as a police department, we've gotten a lot better at listening, because when I first came on in 1988, 30 years ago, it was just no comment. We wouldn't talk to anybody. We've gotten better, we evolved. We can certainly do better. We can certainly do better with these groups and have meaningful conversations. Meaningful conversations, very hard conversations, especially when we have different opinions, sometimes prove to be the best conversations. Because even if you still don't agree on things, you have better understanding of one another. And I think that's what has been a strength for me, as Jose kind of pointed out, and when he picked out in my resume there, is that I have been successful by just being a good listener and challenging my own positions on things. So we can certainly get a lot better with them, and I know that we've had some meetings, but we think we just kind of just keep working parallel and understanding one another, and hopefully there'll be a common ground and a common purpose for all of us. I think we want to have better trust and better legitimacy with one another, and I think that's what they're doing, is they're holding us accountable to it. And I don't object to that at all. I think it's important. There's Robert Peel's kind of been referred to as the father of modern day law enforcement from the 1840s, 1830s, something like that. And even in his time, what he said is that the public are the police. We're public servants as police officers. So we owe that to the community always, is to be good listeners. I'm sorry, you had a question, Hannah?
So I attended a police commission meeting down here at Ramona. I'm sure some other people here have done that as well, and it's kind of a zoo. But
Every Tuesday?
What?
Every Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm sure. But I listened to, Chief Beck was there, I listened to a mom who was so distraught. Her child had been killed in an officer-involved shooting. What's your plan to eliminate officer-involved shootings where the person has no weapon?
Yeah, so very great question, because that really is the contemporary topic of the day. And really, if you go back to 2014, when President Obama was in office, and in light of very quick succession of shootings, of officer-involved shootings resulting in deaths across this country, he stood up the Presidential Committee on 21st Century Policing, where they developed these 6 pillars of trust and legitimacy, policy and oversight, social media and technology, community policing and crime reduction, training and professional development, and also officer safety and wellness. So the core of those pillars was really designed to address your very question as a police department. So Los Angeles Police Department, again, this year, or for 2017, will lead the nation in officer-involved shootings. And if you strike the balance with that of saying, we do have violence in our communities. We do have a number of gangs that are very violently active. But as far as a plan to how do we get better, eliminating is an extreme, right? Reducing is the goal, right? And reducing shootings that involve incidences where there was no weapon. We got to get better at our training. We got to take a look at our training. We've come a long way in understanding the importance of de-escalation, time, talking, other tools, less lethal options and munitions. Our officers not placing themselves in really bad positions and tactics that really kind of precipitate a shooting. So the officers need to be trained. The officers need to have training, and we got to keep putting that into place. We have to look at policy. If our policy is not right, then we need to make revisions to our policy, or we have to refine the policy. If our training is not enough, then we got to give them more training. We got to be better focus training on the things that we keep seeing that we're having these issues. We're making mistakes. But lastly, and I hope this can answer the question, is accountability. You know, if we're having not a policy shooting, that's what we have to say it is. It's not a policy shooting, and we have to hold their officers accountable to the actions that precipitated the shooting. So, a lot of work, but it can be done. Yes, ma'am.
Just kind of a follow-up on that, I've been reading a lot lately about basically officer fear and also sources of training. I'm just curious, do you have outside vendors, or what is the source of your training and what's the philosophy behind it? That's really the area of concern, because if it's all the warrior mentality and militarization and all of that, then obviously it doesn't help if they have lots more training to just get more military.
Yeah, I would think that the shift has come to be much more, patience, listening, time. The training that we give is all predominantly internal training. We have a very robust training division, and from the academy on to in-service training. But the police department, which we have done in the last couple of decades, is we have looked outside of our own police department, looked at best practices across the nation to see what's going on with, especially with de-escalation. Other agencies call it something else. They call it maybe ICAT, something like that. But the LAPD has adopted something called de-escalation training. So it is definitely slowing things down, using less lethal munitions, like the beanbag or the taser or a 40 millimeter sponge round, instead of these confrontations where we're getting too close with people with knives. So still something that needs to be done. This is a very inherently dangerous job and profession that our officers take on. At any moment, something like someone that can assault the officers just happens. So the training really is a key source to hopefully reduce and mitigate shootings. Yes, sir.
And today we just lost 2 officers in Florida.
Yes.
Basically, they were assassinated eating lunch.
Yep.
Okay. I understand the department wants to be accountable to have the best trained officers out there, providing the best of service in a fair and equal manner. But also, to as a society, what can we do to work us to hold people accountable? I mean, sadly, my gut instinct again is that your job is being made harder with decisions that are being made in Sacramento. AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57. And we're seeing that, in a sense, the jobs you did 5-10 years ago, but, you know, for example, the CLEAR program, the Stroud Park and Ramona Gardens, started to clean up the community. Yes, they weren't perfect, but they got the job done. But on the other hand, too, now, the people that were, in a sense, causing problems in the community are the ones now that are showing back up in the community. And the society, we believe in redemption. On the other hand, too, where are we at in terms of holding more people accountable and using tools to make sure that us as a community are not being impacted again in a repetitive manner in terms of rights and verbally raised and all that sort of stuff? I mean, are you going to be taking a bullying pulpit to maybe help to amend those Prop 47, 57, and 109? Because they are impacting your rank and file.
Yeah, no, and thank you for saying that. And first off, before I talk about the bully pulpit, just to you and your neighbor, Renata? Rena. You know, it's about that community voice and working with the legislators, you know, to hold them accountable. We talked about not trying to become political on this. You know, that is, you know, the police department's role is to follow the law, you know, and enforce the law. So we do. But, you know, you have a lot of passion when you're committed to certain issues. So that same passion about AB 109 and Prop 57 and 47, et cetera, you know, that type of voice to your legislators is an important role as well. Chief Beck has done a really great job being a voice for change and legislation. The Los Angeles Police Department is looked at as the premier law enforcement agency in the world. So that position alone carries a lot of weight once he gets behind different issues. And I would continue to do the same thing. All those things that are important to keeping our officers safe, keeping our community safe. Hey, look, I've been here it's been a long night for you guys, and we're just grateful for the time, really grateful for the time and your appreciation for letting me be up here on a Thursday evening where you guys could already be home and getting warm. So just thank you again. I just want to tell you really quickly is one of the main reasons that I'm still, I think, what was your first name again? Yeah, Detana. And she asked me, why are you doing this? I mean, I love this city, and I love this department, and I've been proud to wear this uniform for the last 30 years, and it gives me such great pleasure every time I get to meet people like yourselves and the people in this community and be able to make a difference, because it truly does matter when we are working together to kind of help, you know, keep our city moving forward. In spite of all the issues that are going on, this is still a pretty great city to live in. You know, from the outside looking in, people tell me you live in LA. So not only do I live in LA, but I work for the Los Angeles Police Department, and that's a great honor. So thank you all very much for letting me have the time tonight. Of course.
So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to ask you to stick around so you guys can ask me some questions personally, and also for some photo ops.
Actually, don't leave yet, trust me. We have one more thing.
Guys, my cell phone number, if you write it down, if you have any gang and narcotic problems, or you have any community events that you would like representation from Hollenbeck for the gang unit, my cell phone number is 909-285-5279, and feel free to call it 25.
You said you want to say a couple words?
No, Ryan, R-Y-A-N, White, W-H-I-T-M-A-N. Yeah, it's White. But call, anything you guys need, please call.
Okay.